Welcome to Creekside Online. Our mission is to reach the world with Jesus one person at a time, with Christ, community, and compassion. We are so glad that you are joining us today. If it is your very first time, please take a moment to click the link below and fill out an online Connect card. We would love for you to stay connected throughout the week and everywhere you go. And the best way to do that is through our church app. There you can watch additional messages and find resources to help you grow in your relationship with Christ. It's free and you can download it wherever you download your apps. For us, church is so much more than just a weekend experience. And we want you to know that there's a place here for you at Creekside. No matter where you're watching today, let's get ready for what God has in store for us.
All right, church, well, welcome. So glad you're with us. And those of you that are online, join us. Our online campus, appreciate you joining with us here right before we get ready for school. It's an exciting time. So thanks for checking in as well. If you could, just connect with those people online. We've got ministers online there. So if you're joining us from your living rooms or wherever you are, maybe on vacation, please check in with those people and just give them some kind of acknowledgement that you're there. And just if you want to go ahead and start a dialogue, that would be wonderful. And folks, I'm so excited about our 3 services, and I want to already encourage you. Let's free up some seats for people. And some of you are going to be sacrificing coming at 8. Some of you are not, because your kids are already up at like 5 in the morning, right? And you're like, hey, I've been up for 3 hours. I might as well go to church and have the rest of the day. So that'll be great next week. We'll see you here, and so excited about that. If you have your Bibles with you, Matthew 21. We're in Matthew 21. We're going through the Bible in Matthew this year, just all the way through Matthew, talking about Jesus as Lord, Jesus as King, and no better time to really apply this than in today's message as we end our series on ocean drift. Ocean drift. We're talking about anchors against the drift. What kind of anchors can we find against the drift? And of course, the lordship, the kingship of Jesus Christ should come through in everything. Let's face it, nobody likes to drift. Not really. I mean, you're out at the ocean and you're drifting and uncontrollably. Does that feel very good? It usually doesn't. It kind of reminded me, we were out with the staff kids this last week, having a final summer party, getting most of the staff back together again, and the kids were in there, and we're watching them carefully as adults. I'm watching them, and it reminded me of a time when I was about 5 or 6 years old, went to visit my uncle in Delaware, and I'm in the beach, not aware of ocean drift, right? And I'm just being taken away. I didn't know it, but I'm enjoying riding the waves and doing all those kinds of fun things that kids are doing. But there came a time when suddenly it was frightful. And man, I didn't like it, because I pulled up my head and I looked right and left, and I'm like, nothing looks familiar, right? The beach had taken me down literally almost a half a mile. But thankfully, my sweet Uncle Carl was there, man, and he's following from a distance. He knew how the drift works in the ocean, and I'm looking, I'm getting frantic, I'm starting to cry, and he waving his hand there. That sense of security back again. Nobody really likes to drift in the end. Not really. We might have fun for a little while, but no. And it just occurs to me that it's so easy to get caught in currents and drifting and the waves and the battles that we have of society and opinions and options that are out there. I mean, it's just so easy to get caught up in these things. And the speed of these things that's coming is just going to increase more and more. I mean, I was coming here at 5:30 in the morning, usually around 4 or 5:30. I'm coming in on Sundays. And 5:30 especially, normally I don't see any cars. And this morning, I don't know what it was. I don't know if there's a convention going on. I kind of think it's just like we're getting back into our rhythms. We're getting back into the speed of life. But there's like 70 cars out at 5:30 on a Sunday morning. What's that all about? It's starting, isn't it? And suddenly this speed of knowledge and all kinds of voices coming in makes it easy for us to just get pulled away. And it can be a frightful thing. But friends, I got to tell you, here at Creekside, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time at Creekside because there are leaders here that are kind of waving on the seashore and that are beckoning those that are being pulled away to come back and to come in, and they're coming. If you were here this last week on our night of worship, our kids' night of worship, there were 250 people here. Raise your hand. That was an awesome event. Weren't you here? Let's give our youth a hand. First, I'll tell you, it was awesome. Also, it just is evidence of the leadership and the coaches that were there. I want to just thank our coaches and our youth coaches. We are celebrating CIY and camp and all those things that happened to kind of bolster our youth, to be that strong anchor, that strong voice in their lives versus the winds, the drifting of society's knowledge and wisdom. These kids are being pulled in to Christ and to His strength and His anchor. And we have coaches and teachers and 5 to 6 preachers here. And I want to compliment you. Over 80 new people have come on our team just in this last month to say during the 3 services, we're going to be part of those standing on the shore for everybody to find Jesus Christ. Let's give our volunteers a hand. This is just awesome. About 300 people. Friends, this is what we're all about. We're all about what Colossians chapter 1 says. All these teachers, our elders, they're praying once a month, the last Tuesday of the month. They're praying for us specifically. We take about 2-3 hours in prayer for this church. And this is our prayer, really. In the heart of it is Colossians 1:27 through 29. Paul says, and this is the secret. What secret? The secret versus the wisdom and the knowledge of this world. Here's the secret out of that. Christ in your hearts. Never doubt that. He's the secret. He's the anchor. He is the only hope of glory. So everywhere we go, we talk about Christ to all who will listen, warning them and teaching them as well as we know how. That's what we're doing as teachers. You know, the best way to learn is to be a teacher. Just be a teacher and you'll learn the Bible. Start at a very young age, in fact, and you'll watch, and Christ will be working in your heart and in the lives of those kids around you. It's an amazing thing. We want to be able to present each one to God perfect because of what Christ has done for each of them. And this is my work. And I can do it only because of Christ's mighty energy that's at work within me. Let me tell you, it's not because the people are not busy that they're involved here at Creekside. It's not because of that. It's because of Christ's powerful energy at work within them. They're very busy people, very busy, but they have prioritized and they want Christ's energy and power flowing through them. And He's doing just that. And so shout out to all of you who are part of this great team of workers here at Creekside. Listen, they teach you in Florida that every now and then you can get involved in a rip current, and that's very scary as well. If you've never been involved in one, I've been close to one. My wife especially has been involved in some kind of a rip current. She was caught up, and really she thought this was the end. She was a teenager. She tells the story, lives in infamy in our family, and I'm telling you, it's just an amazing thing. You can get involved emotionally deeply in that story. I've heard adults, strong adults, good swimmers caught in rip currents that just say it just scared them to death. But she fortunately was whipped out of that thing. You know, what do they tell you to do in a rip current here? Floridians, go with it, right? And as soon as you can, try to just kind of work your way out to the edges of it. Just kind of try to be as calm as you can. Don't fight against it, and then begin to work your way back to the shore. And Dana found that to be true. As she worked way back at the store was her dad, standing there to be that strong presence of security. He was watching her all along. Friends, physically drifting is frightening. Spiritually, we shouldn't like to drift either. We should be on guard, like you're on guard with a rip current. We should be on guard, not like it's not fun. There is a God-shaped hole in all of our hearts, and we all, in the depth of us, all really long for a loving Father to be there to embrace us, and He is truly there to embrace us. And He's thrown us anchors for our soul. Last week we talked about the anchor of authenticity versus the tides of hypocrisy and unproductive and unfruitful living. That God has us here. He's called us into His presence, and that prayer life in us can be a witness to the nations. It's to be that witness. And so we lean into authenticity, being authentic with God and authentic with others. And this week we lean into the anchor of authority, because there's a drift of opinions and options out there. And the speed at which they come at us in 2025 is a very big deal. And so there needs to be this God awareness. There needs to be this self-awareness as well. I don't know if you know, but self-awareness is a big topic these days. Studies show that 95% of people think that they are self-aware. They think that they're self-aware in things like likability and ineffectiveness. And the studies, though, have shown that really only 10 to 15% of us are self-aware. So the joke is, on a good day, 80% of us are lying to ourselves about whether we're lying to ourselves. And basically, these studies have shown that thinking deeply, and the introverts who think deeply about ourselves, that doesn't make you more successful at this. It doesn't take the chart up. But what takes it up is objective realities, objective truth, really authority, allowing that authority into your life. Let me illustrate another way. Psychologists Timothy Wilson and Richard Nisbett set up a card table outside a thrifty store in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And they laid out 4 identical pair of pantyhose on a card table. They asked people walking by to pick their favorite. Now remember, there are 4 identical pairs on the table. They also understood that consumer research shows that people tend to prefer products on the right. And that's exactly what happened. People chose D, the one on the far right, the pantyhose on the far right, basically at a rate of 4-1. Why? Because they declared that D was just simply a better pair of pantyhose. Even the researchers told them about the effect of positioning. Now get this. They told them about the effect of positioning. That's probably why they chose D. And they told them that the pantyhose pairs, all 4 of them, were the same. The majority of the people refused to believe it. Why? Because our preconceived prejudices about our capabilities to discern truth about life and others, it's a factor. It's an amazing thing that leads us away from the truth many times. We love to think that we know it, and we need authority in our lives to resist the drift. Man, I've been a preacher for almost 40 years now, and I can tell you, there's so many times you're looking at somebody and think, if you just grab this truth, there'll be so much less pain in your life. Please grab onto this truth. Please look at this passage and meditate on it deeply. Begin to apply it in your attitude. Begin to apply it in your hands and your feet and in your actions. That'll change the trajectory of your life. I can tell you there's so many times. And unfortunately, they don't do it. And it just is heartbreaking. But to be honest, when I thought about others this last week that I've seen that happen in, I've seen it happen in my own life as well. In my late 20s, after 6 years of seminary, you'd think I'd have things together. But I remembered being in this worship group with a guy named Tom. And Tom was an amazing musician as well as an outdoors guy. I love that, fisherman, all these things. But he played by ear, just very talented guy. And we came upon this song we were going to sing called Search Me, O God, Know My Heart. Try me and see if there's any hurtful way in me and lead me in your everlasting way. And Tom was like, I'm just not sure I really want to do that song. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, because, man, that's a dangerous prayer. You want God to take his scalpel out and begin searching your heart and showing you the hurtful things there? It's could be painful in my life. I'm like, not a big deal. And I sang the song, we sang the song, and not much happened, right? I think for him it did. Because he understood authenticity. He understood authority, I think, better than I did at that time. What's Psalm 139? Psalm 139 says, the first verse, O Lord, you have examined my heart. You know everything about me. And then it talks about how God sees us at the highest mountain, the depth of the sea. We could try to hide from God. He knows where we're at. Before there's a thought on our tongue, he knows it. When we're being led astray, when we're starting to drift, God knows it already. But there's a difference between God knowing it. I mean, I knew that passage all along. But there's a difference between God knowing it and me being willing for him to shine a spotlight on it for myself so that I can change. It wasn't until years later, my mid-30s, about 10 years later, I approached that thing again. And because of circumstances in my life, all of a sudden I realized, no, when you pray that, Chuck, you better be sincere. You better be true about these last verses. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you and lead me along the path of everlasting life. Because more than anything, I wanted God. Circumstances were crazy around me, but God, I knew if I was in the center of the palm of his hand and in his will, everything was going to be okay. So I thought, okay, God, I'll go ahead and make myself vulnerable. Search me. And he began to do that and point out things in me that was hurtful to him, primarily and foremost, first of all, that I knew about forgiveness. I knew very well, but there are certain people in my life that I didn't forgive. And I also knew about conflict resolution and things to bring about reconciliation in relationships, but I was being stubborn about those things. And God allowed so much pain in relationship to happen to me so that I would finally get to the point where I'd say, okay, God, stay your hand, please. Because I'm hurting too much right now. Stay your hand. And he did. He did. But as I've gotten older in life, I realize this is not a every now and then prayer. The more and more you trust God as the anchor for your soul, as Jesus standing on the seashore in the drift of life, and you trust him and you keep inviting him. No, search me, search me. I don't want to get caught up in the drift, Jesus. Search me. The easier it becomes. And it's a brave thing. And I'd rather be braver and wiser, which is really the answer to self-awareness. Being brave that you want somebody to speak the truth in your life so that you're not caught up in all these whims and this falsehood, this false self-awareness that you have. You're brave, you look at the recap film. You look at the life and you look at it honestly, and you have others speaking to you honestly. It's a brave thing, but it's a very good thing. Jesus says, man, look, my authority in my son Jesus is solid ground. There's going to be a lot of opinions, a lot of options out there. You can be misled. But look at my son Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Look at him. He's my image bearer. I created you initially in Adam and Eve to be image bearers. Yes, you failed. But now I've come and showed you the way in my son, how to be a true image bearer of my glory to others. Look at my son. Swim away from the drift. Come to know Jesus Christ. Know him as your Messiah, your Lord. Grow in his community. Invite that community to speak into your life deeply. And then go with compassion. Go with his compassion. And the beauty of God's love is, yes, sometimes it hurts, But he's just so faithful, even when we're not faithful. I mean, I was not faithful to not pray and sing that song sincerely, authentically from my heart for a good 10 years. And I'm so thankful that Jesus kept calling from the beach. No, Chuck, apply it. And it's just like 2 Timothy 2:13 says, when we're faithless, he is faithful. He's always there moving towards you, calling. Through the Bible, through others, through prayer, through solitude, you can hear his voice. My wife and I had a trip to Gatlinburg not too long ago, a little vacation up there, and we'd been there several times. We've never seen any bear, but we were coming to our cabin on the first day. We'd just gotten groceries, and this car was kind of blinking his things, and he's waving his arm out. So I stopped. I'm like, "What is there? Some problem going on?" He said, "No, there's a bear up the road, a few cabins up. Just wanted to make you aware of that." I'm like, "A few cabins up? That kind of sounds like our cabin." And sure enough, it was. It was our cabin. And there was that bear. He'd come up, and we stayed in the car, and he kind of moseyed right by my car and on down the mountain, and we were like, "Oh, good, he's gone," and we got all these groceries. I got out, and then somebody in another cabin kind of close by said, "Hey, there's not just one bear, there's two bears." And so I was like, "Honey, we got to get these groceries in before this other bear comes." And just as I was opening the back thing, the other bear came up over the hill. Now, my wife and I have this thing, she's not too worried about bear because she knows all I have to do is run faster than you, Chuck. And she knows she can. With my hip now and everything, she knows she's faster than me. It's just not a problem. She's not scared at all. If that thing comes up over the hill, she's still outside of the car. I was like, "Honey, get in the car. Get in the car. We cannot battle these people. They're not friendly. This is not Smokey the bear. This is a real bear." Yeah, there's the picture of him. Right there he was. Went right by my wife's car door. They came over the hill. We waited a while. Finally, we're like, we got things in the back, food, like watermelon, different. Bears love. They've got good smellers. That's what I've heard. And we're going to get out. We're going to load this. Honey, we had a whole strategy. She was going to be on the deck. And man, we are moving quicker than light. We unloaded that car faster than we've ever loaded any groceries, I'm telling you. And we put that in. The neighbors I looked at the end, they were just laughing hysterically at us. I know for some of you, maybe I'm like that stranger on the seashore. I'm like that stranger that's in that road waving you down going, "Hey, please listen to this sermon. There's bear out there. Hey, there's drift out there. There's trouble out there." But it's true. It's true. If you're not yet a Christian, can I just encourage you to dial in a little bit, because I want to tell you our bottom line today is true. If you trust God's authoritative call over all things, you're going to be okay. It's not a guarantee against pain in your life. We live in a broken world. Pain will come. Trouble will come. Jesus said, if I've had trouble, you're going to have trouble. But you're going to be okay. Jesus died and he rose again for the purpose of a secure embrace with us. Matthew 28:18 says, Jesus told his disciples after he rose again from the dead, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit." We just saw that. Teach these new disciples. It's not over just after you go through the baptistry. Teach them more. Teach them to obey all the commands that I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Our mission statement is we'll reach the world with Jesus one person at a time. We intentionally use the word with instead of for. Some people say, we're going to win the world for Jesus. We're going to reach the world for Jesus. And yes, I get the impetus of that. But this is the promise. If we make Jesus our authority and we continue to do things his way, he will be with us in the roughest of waves and drifts and circumstances. I just have to ask, is he with you? Have you leaned hard into his authority? Asked him to search you, and then responded to that truth, that authority. Maybe this will help. Jesus came. I know this word authority, man, it can just make the hairs go up on people's neck. They don't like the word authority. But maybe this will help. Before Jesus, Satan was the authority of this world. Jesus said he was the prince of this world. Jesus came to take the authority back. He conquered sin and death and the devil because he loved us so much. That's the kind of Father, that's the kind of authority I want to follow. He dove into the worst of rip currents for me and for you. Man, the earthly leaders of Jesus' day, though, they had drifted far from God, and Jesus tried to break through their hard hearts with truth. And now his authentic life was being on full display. He's still in the temple courts, and they hated Jesus for it. They hated the fact that the people loved him. They could sense God's presence in him. They couldn't stand it. They wanted to bring him down. They wanted him to say something that would trip him up, and they didn't want to kill him themselves. They didn't want to have to do that, obviously, because they were afraid of a revolt from the people. And so they were just hoping to trip him up. This is the setting of our text today as we move after the temple area where he's healing people. He had taken the whip out and he had encouraged them to get back to the way God had designed it to be a setting of holiness and prayer for all the people and all the nations to attract everybody in. Jesus is continuing to teach, and they approach him because they're so upset that the people are still gathering around him. They're also upset, of course, that they've been exposed because of their money laundering. And in verse 23 of chapter 21, it says, he returned to the temple, he began teaching, and the leading priests and elders came up to him. They demanded, by what authority are you doing these things? Who gave you the right? He said, I'll tell you by what authority I do these things if you answer one question. Jesus replied, did John's authority to baptize come from heaven, or was it merely human? They talked it over among themselves, and they said, if we say from heaven, then he will ask us, why didn't we believe John? But if we say it was merely human, we'll be mocked because the people believed John was a prophet. And so they finally replied, we don't know. And Jesus responded, then I won't tell you by what authority I do these things either. And these authorities raise the question of Jesus' authority, and he answers by raising a question of their competence to judge such an issue. The baptism of John, was it from God or was it from man? He knew if they said it was from God that he would immediately say, then why didn't you listen to John? Because John said that I was greater than he. John said that I was the light of the world. Why didn't you listen to him then if he was a prophet indeed from God? And if they said, no, he was from man, then they feared that the people would revolt, because they really would have, because John was brave enough to do what these leaders wouldn't do, to stand up to Herod and his adultery and say, this is sin, this is wrong, you're going to be judged for this. They wouldn't do that. And so the people, John was, he was a martyr and he was their hero, and so they couldn't speak against John. It caught them in the drift of their lack of wisdom. See, these people knew Psalm 139, but they too hadn't allowed Psalm 139 to search their heart. They didn't recognize Jesus' voice, and if you don't abide by that, you're going to be tossed by the wind and the waves of all kinds of different kinds of drifting that's happening. Your own authority is going to make you so unstable. You become more interested in the opinions of the multitude rather than the will of God. Do you notice that? You become more interested in the applause of people than the one true God who made you. If you don't have the Bible, if you don't truly have the Word of God as a spotlight in your life, as a rope to anchor you, and man, it makes you unstable and drifty with the tides of popular opinions and whimsical people. They couldn't answer Jesus because of their duplicity, the deceptions inwardly and outwardly that was going on in them. And so Jesus avoided their plan, It wasn't his time to die yet for them if they chose to follow him, or for you and for me. But let's go on. Verse 28. But what do you think about this? Jesus said. A man with 2 sons told the older boy, son, go out and work in the vineyard today. The son answered, no, I won't go. But later he changed his mind and went anyway. Then the father told the other son, you go. And he said, yes, sir, I will. But he didn't go. Which of the 2 obeyed his father? They replied, the first. Then Jesus explained his meaning. I tell you the truth, corrupt tax collectors and prostitutes will get into the kingdom of God before you do. For John the Baptist came and showed you the right way to live, but you didn't believe him, while tax collectors and prostitutes did. And even when you saw this happening, you refused to believe him and repent of your sins. I've shared with you before that Jesus' stories, his parables, were meant as a shock and awe to break through the hardness of the outer shell of their hearts. It also has the dramatic thread to pull us in, because everybody can identify with these 2 sons. Either we've been like that as a son, or we've had children like that, right? You've all had the child, the first son, who says, no, I'm not going to help you, and they're all grumbling, they go away, and you're all disappointed in that, but then all of a sudden they rethink it and they come back. Or you've had a son like the second son, or maybe you've been like them as well. Yes, you got the right attitude in the morning, but then just kind of lots of things come into play and you get tempted with this or that. You get distracted. You don't do what mom or dad had asked you to do. Do you see what Jesus is doing here? He's exposing the authority in their life. What he's saying to these leaders, and really to us, because I love it, these 2 guys, they apply to us all our lives. I mean, in essence, I was like the son in my 20s at the end when that passage was told, when the guy was trying to speak to my heart about being careful what you sing. I was like the first son. Hey, I've obeyed Jesus, but then I really hadn't. I hadn't followed him, just like these religious leaders. And Jesus is exposing their lack of self-awareness. And he's taken off the gloves now in order to soften their hard exteriors. And he's basically said, look, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, the sinners, the ones that you despise, they heard John and they were like the son that said, no, I'm not going to, or that said, no, I'm not going to at the beginning, but then they did. And just like you said, they're the ones that have done the will of God. And this parable is profound insight into God's understanding of us. He knows we're going to go in and out between these 2 brothers. There's going to be sometimes we wake up, yes, God, I'm all in, but then we get distracted. There'll be other times we'll be like, not even thinking about God, but hopefully by the end of the day, we've opened ourselves up to his searching spotlight of his word. What about us? Have we heard his voice? Have we responded to his call to come out of the rip currents of society? It's a brave and rewarding decision to follow God's authority. I'm so glad to be able to share with you that some of those leaders did end up following his authority. Joseph of Arimathea, Nicodemus, they come out into the spotlight. They're unafraid to show their loyalty to Jesus. They take him down from the cross, becoming believers. In Acts chapter 6, verse 7, God's message continued to spread. The number of believers greatly increased in Jerusalem. Many of the Jewish priests were converted too. Maybe some of these very people came out of their false self-awareness and allowed the anchor of Jesus' authority to take root in their life. And they became believers too. How about in Acts 15:5? Some of the believers who belonged to the sect of the Pharisees. Remember the Pharisees that Jesus drove at, railed at so hard? Matthew 23, woe to you, Pharisees, he said. They too had become believers. Like that first son. Or like that son that was the second son said, no, I'm not going to do it, but then he did it. Then he did it. It's never too late for any of us to swim away from the current. Swim away from the current. To follow this beckoning. And I think about many people, many of those kids that I pulled my hair out in the youth group And when I was they would share things with me, and I'd be like, I just had a lesson on this. What are you thinking? And then now later in life, I see and hear about them, that they're doing ministry to youth in the same way. And there's lots and lots of stories. As well as there's the stories of those that have gone away. They listened, but they said, no, I'm not going to do it. There's the same amount that said no to begin with and then followed him. Revelation 3:19 says, I correct and discipline everyone I love. That's Psalm 139. That trust. Jesus, go ahead. In my devotion life, again, I said, Lord, I realize I've not been doing this enough. This earnest desire to open my heart up to you and to open my attitudes and my life up to you so that you can constantly, daily search me and show me if there's a hurtful way so that I don't let it get root and so that my heart doesn't become hard. And so Jesus says, so be diligent and turn from your indifference. This church at Laodicea says, I correct and discipline everyone I love. He says, look, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and we will share a meal together as friends. This is what Jesus is doing today. He wants a daily relationship with you out of the ocean drift that should scare us all. I told a couple elders that I was going to do this today, and actually, they said if I was going to do the hula hoop, that they were going to walk out. How many of you would like to see me do the hula? I just had a sermon on authority, and 2 elders said they were going to walk out, and you guys are encouraging me? What is that about? Yeah, it was a little weird walking out of Walmart with these yesterday, but anyhow. What is this? We have a thing at Creekside that tries to call people, and I encourage you, I'm wanting to equip you right now with ways to call people out of the drift of society. And it's called the 3 circles. The first circle really represents the joy. You know, I could put my face in it. The joy that you experience when you see the beauty in creation. In Gatlinburg, you see the creation, the beauty. When you have a new child that's born, we all inherently see that this world was created to be beautiful, and it has many beautiful, lovely, joyful things. That's the way it was in the beginning with Adam and Eve. But then what happened? What happened was we weren't honest with God. We rebelled against God. And if we'd have just waited to walk and talk with him in the garden about the tempter and what he was doing, we'd have been okay. But as a result, we live in a broken world. Creation is broken. It longs for Jesus to return again. And because of this broken world and the sadness that we feel in this broken world, all of us try various things. Self-willed things, self-awareness kinds of things, maybe things that we learned from our parents to try and really escape this world, like a bungee cord that tries to escape things. Some of us might use alcohol for a while, or maybe you kind of dull your emotions by just scrolling through the screen at nights, or maybe you dull your emotions through pornography or other things, or maybe you do it through shopping sprees. We all try to escape this world, but what's the problem when we do that? It just snaps us back, and we're right back in this broken world. And if some of us will just be honest with that pain and turn to Jesus to hear his call and surrender to him and to drop to our knees, I've got a different hula. This hula is gold. This hula stands for the gold crown of Jesus. If we'll make Jesus King and Lord of our lives, then Jesus, as this new Adam, this one that shows us the image of God and how to follow him, he'll become an anchor for our soul, and he'll help to restore even more of those things at the beginning that we could have had. Not all of them, because we're not in heaven yet. We all live east of Eden. But if we make Jesus king of our life, he begins to set things back in order in our lives. And what it takes is humility. It takes honesty. It takes us anchoring down, bending our knees, and submitting to his authority. And friends, every week we take the Lord's Supper, and that's what the Lord's Supper is about. Jesus, I bend my knees again. I submit to you. I appeal to your authority to speak truth in me, because it's very easy for me to not become aware of myself, really, for who I am. So Lord, reveal that spot in me that hurts you deeply, where I'm drifting away from you. You're calling because I'm getting so far. Reveal that to me and lead me in your everlasting way. If you didn't get a chance to take the Lord's Supper this morning, will you raise your hand? Our elders and our ushers are back there as well to give you some of the elements. As you take those elements, you open the top, and it reminds you of the perfect and holy body of Jesus. This is unleavened bread because leaven represented sin to the Hebrew nation. And so you appeal to Jesus. Jesus, your holy life, I want to know it better. I want to know it more. Show me how to live my life unleavened, without sin in my life. And the red, of course, reminds us of Jesus' blood. It's not his literal blood. It's a symbol of his blood to remind us that in our efforts, we can't cleanse ourselves, but with his holiness and his righteousness covering us, then we can begin to understand the grace and how to respond to his call, not out of fear, not out of mistrust, but out of love and joy. We respond to him. So let's have a time right now. We bow our heads. In our heart of hearts, we bow our knees and we surrender to his scalpel, to his spotlight, and say, search me, God, know my heart.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. We hope the message you just listened to had an impact on you. Make sure to stay connected with us through the week online at creeksidechristian.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Creekside Christian Church. We believe God has something unique to say to you, and our hope is that you feel his love stronger today than ever before. We love you, and we'll see you next time.